So guys, today we want to talk about taking responsibility for the things that have happened to us as a people. Now, this is a really tough subject, and this is a really touchy subject, actually. I remember during the COVID-19 and during the Black Lives Matter movement, I was a part of a group on Facebook that was fighting for, Black lives. And I remember posting a question to the group, and my question effectively was, I get it that we're focused on, Black lives, and specifically we're focused on the Black lives that are taken by law enforcement. When law enforcement, guns down or otherwise, kills a person of African descent. But I asked the group, what about, those that are killed at our own hands, right? What about, what we call black on black violence or black on black crime? And it was just a question, right? Because, more lives are taken by, are really taken by one another than by law enforcement. And even as a percentage, And so I asked a question and I got a ton of negative feedback. I'll just leave it at that. People were calling me names. I mean, I was really surprised because for me, I was just kind of trying to learn, to be honest with you guys. So for me, I was just in a space because it was all kind of new to me. I think for a lot of people, it was very new, kind of what was happening, where you would see young Black men be killed by law enforcement as in your face as it was, in 2018, 2019, 2020, and so forth. And so for me, I was just trying to learn what was going on. And also I was trying to learn I do think it's important to protect and defend the lives of our men and women that are taken at the hands of law enforcement. But for me, you have the Black Lives Matter movement, then you have the All Lives Matter movement. For me, my mindset was all Black Lives Matter, not just the Black lives that are taken by police officers, but also the Black lives that are taken by others. And so for me, I wanted to protect all Black lives. And I didn't see why that was bad, okay? But I got, just the keyboard lashing from people, right? Was crazy. But it really got me thinking, because I'm like, wow, I wonder why we and this is just people of all different backgrounds. And I was like, I wonder why we have such a strong response to this. And so it's interesting to me because I've kind of taken on this idea of extreme responsibility and extreme ownership. And what I mean by that is this, okay? We have every right to be upset. We have every right to be angry, to want justice. We have every right to want reparations. We have every right to want the things that we're entitled to for the traumas that have been done to us, to our ancestors, through slavery, colonialism, Jim Crow, through all of the atrocities, through systemic racism. I mean, you name it, I can't think of a group of people who has been through more than people of African descent, where an entire continent was colonized, conquered, enslaved, right? People were murdered, women raped. I mean, I cannot think of that happening to such an extent anywhere in history. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, if you can think about another time that had happened, but I don't know of any. So anyway, this idea of extreme responsibility and ownership. So what that means is that it's not saying that we are not entitled to these things. We're not entitled to justice. But the idea of extreme ownership and responsibility is just that I am going to own the stuff that has happened to me in my life and work to change that. So, for example, even when I'm not responsible necessarily for what happened or directly responsible. So if I was a victim of systemic racism, which I have been, okay, being a victim of systemic racism, well, it's easy for me to blame the perpetrator of that, right? And I can say, my employer was this way. I can certainly, and I would be justified in saying that, right? Absolutely 100% justified in saying that. But being right and something being useful or helpful are not the same thing. even though I'm right in feeling this way, even though I'm right in desiring justice, and I should desire those things, my focus should be on, what can I do, right, to affect change? What can I do? And also, what was my role in that, right? So here's the thing, guys. I have a story for you, right? You may have heard the story, I'm not sure, but the turtle and the scorpion, okay? Once upon a time, okay, there was a turtle and a scorpion, okay? Turtle and a scorpion, and there was a river, okay? The scorpion wanted to cross the river. The scorpion wanted to get to the other side of the river. The turtle's in the river. The scorpion tells the turtle, hey, turtle, let me jump on your back, and you can take us both across the river. The turtle says, well, I don't know. You're a scorpion. What if you sting me? What if you sting me with your tail? The scorpion's like, I'm not going to sting you. Why would I sting you? Because if I sting you, then we're both going to drown. I'm not going to sting you. And so the turtle tells the scorpion, okay, go ahead and jump on my back. So the turtle's taking the scorpion down the river. And long and behold, the scorpion bites the turtle. And the turtle says, why did you bite me? I thought you weren't going to bite. Or I'm sorry, weren't going to sting me. I thought you weren't going to sting me. And, why did you sting me? And, the scorpion said, because I'm a scorpion. And that's what scorpions do. We sting. And so they both sunk, okay? What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is this, guys. A scorpion is going to sting. A scorpion is going to do what a scorpion does. And so if you are interacting with someone or a group and they are scorpions, do not be surprised if that scorpion bites or stings, rather, okay? Do not be surprised at that fact. Now, we can blame the scorpion and say, in this story, it was the scorpion's fault for stinging the turtle. But the turtle agreed to take the scorpion across, okay? You know what I mean? Knowing that it's a scorpion. And so the moral of the story is, to own that portion of the responsibility. Yes, the scorpion was wrong. Yes, the scorpion shouldn't have stung the turtle. But the turtle had responsibility as well, okay? And so we have to own our responsibility. This doesn't take away from the fact that the scorpion was, that stung the turtle, okay? It doesn't take away from that fact, but it just takes the focus now from a negative. Now we're not in a state of blaming and being a victim, right? Now we're in a state of, okay, I'm going to take my power back, okay? Because I empowered these things to happen to me, right? Again, how much that is true is really irrelevant, to be honest with you. How much that is true is really irrelevant. In terms of universal law, in terms of how the universe works, it's not so much whether what is true, it's about what you believe. That's why Yeshua focused so much on your faith. What is it that you believe? Because faith is faith. Faith becomes the truth, right? What you believe becomes the reality. And so if you're looking for something that is real, that is true, look to your faith. What is it that you believe? Because what you believe, that will become what's real. And so if you believe that you are empowered to change your situation, if you believe that you gave that power to someone else to victimize you, right? And you believe that you have, then logically, you have the ability and the power to take your power back, right? And so that's what my focus is on, taking my power back, So if I was, so again, like I said, I've been a victim of systemic racism, but within that, I also understand that, okay, in the situation that I was in, I was dealing with a scorpion, okay? You know what I'm saying? I was dealing with a scorpion in my situation. And so, why did I expect the scorpion to do anything different? It was lack of knowledge. I just didn't know, right? To be honest with you. But at the same time, lack of knowledge is not an excuse. And I tell people that just because you don't know something doesn't mean you're not responsible for that or you're not responsible to know. And so, it's about owning that, right? It's not about right and wrong. It's not about that. It's about just owning all of it. And when you own all of it, you become responsible for all of it. And by being responsible, now you are empowered to make it different, to change it. But as long as you don't take responsibility, as long as you say it's someone else's fault, even though it was, But when you believe that, you're taking your power from yourself. And I know this is a hard thing to accept, you know, because sometimes there is absolutely nothing you could have done about a situation. You know, there are crimes, there are things that happen to people, but there is absolutely nothing they could have done. Okay. You know, some children have been physically abused, sexually abused, right? There's situations that happen to people every day. There's absolutely nothing that they can do about it. Okay. Technically, right? There's nothing they can do about it. However, what they can do is change how they internalize it. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about taking ownership. It's not that you take away from what someone has done to you, but it's about owning your responsibility in that, even if you really had none, okay? But it's about taking that responsibility anyway, because that empowers you to change it. That's the only reason you take that from that person. It empowers you to change it. You know, that's really what it comes down to, is just taking your power back. So it sounds counterintuitive to say, hey, I'm going to take responsibility for what someone else did to me. But by taking that responsibility for what that person did to you, or that group of people did to you, now you empower yourself to change it, to be honest with you, as opposed to going to the person who wronged you and asking them to make it right. They may or may not do that, right? Not saying you shouldn't do that. Certainly do that and continue to do those things. But at the same time, take your power, own it, and make yourself stronger, make yourself better, make yourself wiser, so it doesn't happen to you or anyone else again.
The purpose of our organization is to start right here in Harlem, which has the largest concentration of people of African descent that exists anywhere on this earth. There are more Africans here in Harlem than exist in any city on the African continent. Because that's what you and I are, Africans.